Welcome to the Yoga Center. My name is Todd McLaughlin, and today we're going for spondylolisthesis. Nice and easy practice. If you have spondylolisthesis, you know what I'm talking about. If you are curious, what is this long word, spondylolisthesis? Basically, you have vertebra on your spine, and what can happen due to an injury, an accident, or it can be congenital from birth. One of the discs, one of the vertebra actually slides. So we often use this term called fluid, but it's kind of similar, but spondylolisthesis is where we have this movement where the spinal bones, the vertebral column is not balanced evenly, and so it can create a lot of pain because it puts pressure potentially on the spinal cord and also on the nerves that innervate. So what we're in yoga is practice our yoga in a way that we're very conscious and aware of the movement we're making, what exacerbates the pain, what we can feel and make it feel better. So that's what we're aiming to figure out. So the first assessment I'd like for you to try is if you come into either here I'm kneeling, but this presupposes you're come into a comfortable, easy cross leg position. Now, for most of us, when you go to sit, it's very normal that our knees be up. So what you can do, here I'm gonna be a bolster. You can use any old pillow. What I'm looking for is something that you can fold in half and make a relatively a larger, you know, fold it in half, not too thick. So, try to come up with a prop that will work. Even a bed pillow will do just fine. So what you do is practice sitting of a bolster. So the main idea is that we want to be able to sit comfortably where you're not holding on for dear life to not fall backward. What we're attempting to do is the spine can be relatively straight up and down. So you might need to set up a folding chair or find a chair, sit on the chair, and that way you can get your back straight. All right. So the first thing I'd like for you to do is, well, probably you've identified via an MRI or X-ray. I highly recommend visit your medical professional so that you can get charts and or imaging done so you know the likelihood that you already have it probably won't know you have spondylolisthesis unless you have a medical professional identify is what you are dealing with. So it can be in the neck, it can be in the thoracic, the middle spine, it can be in the lumbar, the low spine. If the in my case, I have spondylolisthesis, my L5 slipped forward. So when I forward bend, it relieves pressure off of my spinal cord, and when I back bend, I feel pressure increase on my spinal cord. I'm in a really good place right now because I manage it through my practice. I'm very careful, but I have been in a very difficult place where I've been in extreme pain. So, if you are having a day where you are in extreme pain, this we're going to try to figure out where you feel it the most. So what I want you to do is just very gently just practice rounding your back, hold for a moment, and test and just kind of feel, is it worse? Is it better? Now, some days when you're extremely inflamed, no matter which way you move, it hurts. But I need you to take your attention and get very inwardly focused so that you can pay close attention to the sensation that you feel. I also like for you now to hold your knees, push your chest forward, and just observe in the spinal column. And then I want you just to go back and forth and see if folding forward releases it or increases the discomfort. And then if you go backward into spinal extension, if you feel more or less. This is really important. Now, you might find it hurts when I go forward and it hurts when I go back. That's really good information. What we're going to then try to do is isolate the spine so that you are not doing unnecessary rounding or flexion and you're not doing unnecessary extension. what we might need to do is keep our spine really straight. Watch what I do with triangle pose now. Okay, if I've figured out that my spine needs to stay straight, watch the way that I'm moving around now. I know it looks like I have a back problem because watch, I'm when I move, I'm keeping everything really stable. I'm not letting any unnecessary flexion, no unnecessary extension. And then just to be clear, when we do side bending, this is called lateral flexion, side bending, lateral flexion. And then the other main motion is to do rotation. So typically, for right now, we're gonna try to eliminate rotation, and I'm not gonna put you in any side bending poses. We're gonna just focus on flexion and extension. Now, you might find that if you have pressure on your left side, that doing a side bend actually alleviates the pain. So there is a lot of information we can glean from doing these different tests to see where we feel it. The other big question is, do you feel numbness in your toes? Do you have numbness in your legs? That's also a really telltale sign that there is a lot of spinal compression. So this is good information. You can always type in the comments if you don't feel comfortable sharing this information publicly. I totally understand. However, so now, okay, yeah, what I wanted to demonstrate, I'm going to try triangle pose, and I'm going to keep my spine very stable. So if you are in a yoga class or you're practicing, I'm going to make the movements so that when I move, I'm going to move from my pelvis, but notice I'm keeping my spine very evenly placed. I'm not going to add extra, like in triangle pose, we end up doing a lot of lateral flexion to the side. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring my hand on my leg and reach up. And one of the key actions, drawing the belly in and not really bending the spine very much. Notice I'm keeping my spine very controlled. And when I make the movements, I'm letting my other areas of my body move, like my arms, and I'm keeping my legs very stable. And when I bend over into the triangle, I'm just going to pivot on the hip motion and not let my spine do a big bendy kind of motion like this. We're going to keep everything very stable. So the thing I find most students have a hard time modifying. Most of us have a difficult time doing things that look different than everybody else. You got to throw all that out the door. Another situation, okay, so if I do a forward bend, in this case, I'm turning sideways, so you'll be able to see what I do from the side, but basically we're in a wide foot stretching position. So what I'm going to do here, I'm bending my knees. I have my hands on my knees. I'm keeping my spine very stable. Notice that if I go like this is going to put a lot of flexion forward, rounding in the spine. And I could actually accentuate too much with this pelvic tilt, where here I'm doing a really big extension with my spine. So here I'm going to kind of neutralize. So at whatever level of depth that you can get to in relationship to your hips and your hamstrings, we can still stretch our hamstrings, but I'm going to take my abdominal muscles, draw in, and when I fold forward, I'm only going to hinge at the hips. So that way the spine is not making a lot of extraneous movement. Now, I am aware from personal experience that when the back pain is really flared up due to the spondylolisthesis, it can take a long time, weeks, for the inflammation to go down. And so it might not be right away that you feel perfectly altogether better. But if you start making your movements where you're very aware of how you're holding your spine, here I'm bending my knees, putting my hands on my knees. When I tip forward, I'm not letting the spine move. I'm just moving at my hips. And this way you're able to stretch and work your hips, but keep that sort of stability in the spine. This is really important. Let's look at it from another angle. If we come into a seated position, a lot of it depends on how flexible your hamstrings are. So, all right, let me give an example. If my hamstrings are really tight and I come to seated, I might need to lean back on my hands to be able to keep my stomach really strong and not have going back. I'm not going backward, and I'm not going really deep rounding forward. I'm going to try to get the spine stable, and I have to figure out what angle of motion can happen with my pelvis to be able to keep the spine really stable. If my hamstrings are tight, my hips won't go forward, I might have to hold back here We'll see other people practicing Paschimottanasana and folding all the way forward. Doesn't matter what other people are doing. What matters is that we decrease the pain levels so that we can start to explore other ranges of motion from a place of comfort, not when we're really flared up. So if you're in a big major flare up right now, lean back on your hands, just work the strength of your belly and really concentrate on trying to create space and lift. So what I'm doing here is I'm leaning back, I'm contracting abdominal muscles, and I'm consciously visualizing the vertebra that is slid forward, and I'm imagining that that vertebra is sliding back into the position that it needs to go. That doesn't mean that it does, but if you put your mind in the place of where the dysfunction is and you start to think, okay, I'm going to encourage it to go in the direction that I would like for it to go so there's less pressure. Or another thing you can imagine is that the bones are separating and where the nerves are being pressed, that the bones are actually lifting off of the nerves. That doesn't mean that right away it actually is, but putting your mind, using the power of the mind to help heal the body is use it. Why waste it? I mean, just try it. Can't hurt. It can't hurt to think positive. It's helped me tremendously because what happens, what you'll notice, so see how I'm kind of leaning back on my arms and I'm creating a really gentle kind of traction motion. Now, another really good way that you can traction your spine, I'm going to imagine that when I've been in really bad back pain from this is more how I would move. I'm just going to go very, very slowly to come around onto the belly. I'm trying not to really bend all that much and lay on the abdomen. Now, one really good exercise for your back to decompress is to either lay straight on your belly with your forehead down, or on the belly with your chin forward, or take a little pillow and put your head on the pillow so that you don't squish your nose. This is a really good spinal decompression position by laying in this fashion. What we'll find is that perhaps laying on the belly is actually going to feel better than laying on the back. When you recline on your back, another thing to be aware of if you're just trying to lay down and find something comfortable is bend your knees, because when you take your legs straight, that might be causing the back to go into an extension motion in your lower back. So if you bend your knees and you put your feet on the floor, then what you can do is just put your hands now, in the case of those of you with a spondylolisthesis, where your bone is pushing forward, here where I know my bone is forward, I'm going to put my hand on my abdomen and gently press down. I'm not trying to move bones around right now, but I am just trying to put my attention where I know I'd like for some space to open up. And I'm pushing down gently on the belly. I'm pushing my feet down a little bit into the floor, and I'm trying to suck my stomach in so the abdominal muscles are strong here, especially right under where the ribs meet the belly. Take your hands like to the navel. And again, this is all imagining you have the exact same thing I do with the low back, but let's imagine it's more in the upper back where it is in the thoracic. If it was right around T6 or 7, I'm going to gently push down the front of the body and kind of open the back. I want to squeeze the belly, push a little into the feet, and then just kind of direct that area to push the vertebra or to kind of send the energy that way. So this way you start doing very small, minute spinal manipulation to begin to try to figure out where is there less pressure. And this takes a lot of work. This is not easy to, it is easy to do because it's innate, and we have innate intelligence, and there's a wisdom in our body, there's a wisdom in our consciousness that we do know what to do. However, it might not be very apparent right away. So open the doorway to be very patient and utilize the yoga and meditation practice to take your concentration and harness it so that we can heal. Now, another thing I'd like to point out, and why I mentioned grabbing the cushion, is here I'm going to sit in a cross-legged position. And again, I feel I take pressure off my spine by rounding forward. This feels better. For me, backward bending seems to aggravate. So here I'm going to take a cushion. I'm going to fold it in half. I'm going to put it against my belly and just gently round forward over something I can fully lean into. And what this does is it tractions the space between each of the spinal vertebra, and creates a little less pressure on the nerves that innervate. And again, if there's disc issue where uh, the disc has been compressed, bulging, ruptured, something to that effect, what we're going to do is very gently kind of open the space. Now, if for you you've discovered that backward bending feels better, forward bending exacerbates it. What I'm going to do is take the cushion behind me and just lay back on it and allow for the body to go the opposing direction. So for me, this one is less comfortable. For me, going forward is more. So I just want to give you two options where you can create the motion that feels best. And the idea is to be able to put the pressure to relax, basically, so that you don't have to stabilize and allow for the body to relax. Again, what's really important, positive reinforcement. Think positive. I am healing. I am healing. And um, you figure out what actually is working. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again that doesn't work. So what we need to do is figure out what does work and move forward from here. I hope this helps. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to send me an email. Check me out on my website, nativeyogacenter.com, my YouTube channel, Native Yoga, whatever platform you're watching on. Leave a comment. I will respond. And if you are in pain, I feel for you. I know what it's like. Hang in here. Do not give up. I have been in the most miserable place where I thought I would never, ever feel better. And I am feeling better. I've just had to change the way that I practice yoga. I love yoga. I've been teaching and practicing yoga for the last 30 years, practicing for 30, teaching for 20 plus. So I'm not giving it up. So on that note, it is possible. All right. I truly hope this helps. All right. Have a great day. Thanks. Namaste. Thank you, Don. I saw that this was good timing for you. I appreciate that. I hear you. I hope you have a good weekend. I hope everything's working out for you. And remember, if you have any specific questions, anyone watching, if you have a specific issue or a pose that you try or a movement that you try that you're wondering what can help, I love trying to figure these puzzles out. So let me know. Thanks, Don.